Hey everybody, it's Tasha. We are less than 5 days away from the new season of Arrow, and I, for one, cannot wait for it to come back because I've missed it. But before we meet Richard Dragon, Caden James, and get to spend a little bit more time with Black Siren, I thought I'd do a video ranking the villains that we've had so far. And for me, each season is only as good as the villain, because the villain is who challenges our heroes and pushes their growth. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into it. I'm starting out with my number 5 villain, who is Damian Darhk. I think most people will agree that season 4 was not Arrow's best season. I could probably write a dissertation on all my issues with that season, but page 1, line 1 would be Darhk. And the fact that he had no personal tie to Oliver, Starling City, or any other main character, and that is what made all the other villains so effective. Beyond that, having Darhk be a villain with mystical abilities took the show away from the grounded and gritty aspect that drew viewers in the first place. He made Oliver seem weak, and his ability to just wave his hand and send any adversary flying through the air made everyone completely ineffectual. But Darhk's force abilities aren't my only issue. My huge issue is that 2 seasons later, I still don't understand the character's motivations. Why exactly was it so important that he hit the reset button on humanity? He created Hive, he was successful, he was powerful, so what benefit was there to destroying the world? Also, now I may have missed this because I swear toward the end of the season I basically tapped out, but if the plan was to have Felicity's annoying ex hack weapons of mass destruction, then what exactly was the point of the experiments with the gas chambers? And why was it so important that his wife Rouvet win the election for mayor if they planned to live their lives in their underground bubble community after the bombs went off? All in all, Damian Darhk was just a really poorly handled villain on this show. The actor was great. Neil McDonough is amazing. I loved him in Walking Tall and Captain America. And I even think he did a really great job on Legends because that show and his mystical abilities, they're more suited for each other. And it was obvious that he was having a great time with the role, but the character just seemed really ill-suited for Arrow. I'm not sure if they would have given us a little bit more of his history, a little bit more backstory, maybe some flashbacks of him and Ras training when he was up for air in the league, if that would have helped it or not. But as it was, it just really didn't work. And the final fight scene between him and Oliver, it was a joke. He was supposed to be someone who had the same skill set as Ras. He was runner-up for heir to the demon, but they just traded blows as if they just couldn't be bothered to put in any extra effort. So on to my number 4, Ras Al Ghul. I actually really liked Matt Nabler's Ras. He had this air of boredom and indifference that really seemed consistent with someone who had lived hundreds of years. He ran the league, he traveled everywhere, he'd seen everything, so he should play the part as someone who just really didn't care anymore. And I really liked that he was a character who was connected to other characters. Sarah and Nissa. That did a great job of building him up in season 2 for being the big bad in season 3. I even understood his motivation. He wanted to retire and ensure his legacy, but my issues came in with the execution. If Ras was hunting Merlyn because he dishonored the League with the undertaking and he killed innocents, then for him to shoot up a city council meeting dressed as the Hood and kill the mayor was just as bad. Then he took it a step further and he ordered the destruction of the entire city. He has the League hunt Merlyn across the globe for the undertaking just to turn around and order Oliver to finish the place off. Kind of made no sense. But my main reason for giving Ras the number 4 spot was because he was naive enough to believe that a few weeks of League brainwashing had broken Oliver. He had to have done his research, and he knew his history. So if he knew that Oliver had survived 5 years of horror and another 3 years as the Hood, then he should have known that sending him back home to the city that he risked everything to protect, where the people he loved would would undo any and all of the work he had put in to transform him into Al Sahim. Now we've reached my number 3, Malcolm Merlyn, the Dark Archer, the Magician. I'm going to start by saying that John Barrowman is a thing of greatness, and he played the part to perfection. I honestly oscillated between hating him and being thoroughly charmed by him in almost every episode that he appeared in. He had some of the best lines, period. And outside of Barrowman's acting prowess, what worked for Merlyn was that he was so tightly linked to so many aspects of Oliver's life. He was Robert's and Moira's friend. He was someone Oliver grew up around. And then there was Tommy. Having Malcolm be Tommy's dad was just made the story more complex. And his motivations were crystal clear. He lost his wife, the person who obviously kept him grounded and sane, so he wanted revenge. He wanted the people who caused her death and the ones who denied him justice to suffer. Granted, his plan was convoluted and completely insane, but it was so much fun to watch it unfold. And I think in the end, what the writers did best for Malcolm Merlyn was that his character went full circle. At the end of season 1, his lust for vengeance led to the death of one of his children. And then he vanished. But at the end of season 5, he risked his life to save one of his children. And having Oliver's first nemesis finally meet his end at the end of last season was a really great way to close out that half of the story. Now we've reached my number 2 pick, and this was a hard one because I love Manu Bennett. Be it in Spartacus as Crixus, or the Shannara Chronicles as Al-Anon, or Arrow as Slade Wilson, he is amazing, and he was a great villain. Until this last season, he held the top spot. Slade knew Oliver, he trained him, he loved him, and then in his madness and grief over Shadow, he systematically destroyed his life. He kept him confused and off balance the whole season. Him working with Isabel, getting close to Moira, planting blood in the mayor's office, telling Laurel Oliver was the Hood, it was all just to create chaos, just to take away the things that Oliver cared about, his company, his family, his city. That wasn't just big picture thinking, that was detailed and tactical, and it was some of the best storytelling the writers have done. But the reason Slade no longer holds the top spot is because he's no longer solely a villain. His character evolved. And while he did some heinous things, like killing Moira, which I'm still not over, he does also show remorse, which is something that the number 1 spot villain has none of. And now we've reached my number 1 pick, Adrian Chase. I think what I like most about Chase is that he was a monster of Oliver's creation. The Hood's rigid, by-the-numbers way of checking people's names off the list is what led Adrian down the path he went on, the death of his father. And Adrian was a really fascinating character. He was smart and patient. He used a very detailed and analytical thought process, something that he learned as a lawyer, to organize his revenge. And for him to research Dig, find out about his family, then use them to draw him out just to get him arrested and then turn around and get him released as a way of gaining Oliver's trust and friendship was masterful. It's exactly how he was able to stay 10 steps ahead. He was completely and totally committed to the path that he set out on. So much so that he was willing to end his life just to make sure that Oliver learned the lesson he wanted him to. And in a way, he won. Because while he didn't make Oliver kill, his actions still had lasting consequences that are going to affect Oliver for a long time to come. So what do you guys think? Do you agree with my list? Or did you have someone else in the top spot? Who was your favorite Arrow villain?